Hi, and welcome back to David Pattinson's Accused Friends. A lot of people are looking at the government communication at the moment and noticing how the lockdown is softening. You don't see any more stories in the news about police, trying to harass and arrest sunbathers and coming into people's front garden and saying, you can't leave your property, drones, all that sort of stuff's all disappeared. And yet you're still seeing government officials coming out saying, the lockdown's got to continue and we're following the science and all this sort of stuff. And so it's important to do a quick recap of this concept of the government's, I would call it inconsistent communication and really talking out of both sides of their mouth. So a quick recap on this is that the original government policy was that the science said that the herd immunity was the right policy. And then the government panicked and said the science has all of a sudden done a 180-degree U-turn and says that the lockdown is the only way to save the country. And if we don't lock down, we're going to get 500,000 deaths in our country. And yet, over the course of the last 6 weeks, it's obvious that the justification for the lockdown was false. We weren't going to lose 500,000 people if we didn't lock down, because other countries that have not locked down, not only have they not lost masses of people, they've actually lost fewer than we have with a lockdown. So now, from the government's point of view, it's a face-saving mission. What we're going to see going forward is an absolute mass of economic devastation for our people. And the government's going to say, well, look, David, the cause of all this economic carnage was the health crisis. But it wasn't the health crisis. It was the lockdown that caused it. It's a man-made disaster. It's a self-inflicted wound. If we'd have just had the health crisis, which was just a normal, maybe slightly more deadly than normal, but relatively normal flu season where we lose, maybe 30,000 people or 50,000 people, many of them older people or many of them with underlying health conditions, we've decided to penalise our entire country, which is going to cause long-term poverty, long-term unemployment, long-term health effects unrelated to the health crisis, suicides, depression, drug use, and just masses of lower standards of living for our people. And the government, they kind of don't want to admit to the fact they've caused this problem. I mean, the government comes in to solve a problem, they screw everything up, and then they're the ones to sort of fix everything. And it's important that the British people realise this. And I think just going forward, we need to realise that this nonsense of following the science is, it's just doublespeak. It doesn't mean anything. Because when I was young, science meant something definitive. But of course, the British government's, the science keeps changing, and they're following science that other countries are not following, they're following science as well. So I think it's really time that we hold our government accountable and demand a public inquiry and a prosecution of the government straight away. The government are resisting a public inquiry, say, look, we got to get through the crisis before we have a public inquiry. But of course, if we keep making the wrong decisions, if we keep trying to imprison people in their homes, while at the same time giving lip service to other people to go out and work, we just have a sort of a situation of chaos. You'll notice that the government's giving lip service to companies to announce openings. They're talking about McDonald's coming back and the Premier League coming back and the railways coming back, and yet they're still telling you to stay in your home, to save everyone's lives and protect the NHS. Why can't the NHS protect us? And there's, it's an old saying, it's better to die on your feet than live on your knees. And I think that's the kind of situation we've reached as a population. The British people need to stand up and insist that we're a free people. We can take risks with our own lives. We have the right to put our own lives at risk if we wish. And, we don't need the government impeding our liberties. And this is going to be something that's going to go on. We're going to have our liberties impeded on just about every aspect of our lives, rather than just point out to the government that this coronavirus was not a threat to our entire population. It was not a threat to our way of life. And yet we've still got to live with the economic damage that's been caused, not by the virus, but by the lockdown. So I hope you like this video. Please subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you soon.